Okay, good morning, everyone. I would like to call to order the Pasco County Board of County Commissioners meeting for August 7th, 2018. I would like to remind everyone to please silence your cell phones. At this time, I'd like to ask you to please rise for the invocation and pledge. Madam Clerk.
Please bow your heads. O merciful Creator, your hand is open wide to satisfy the needs of every living creature. Make us thankful for your loving providence and grant that we, remembering the account that we must one day give, may be faithful stewards of your good gifts. Amen.
Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, just checking. Now is the time for public comment. Oh, sorry, go ahead. Yes, ma'am.
Roll call. District 1,
Oh,
Commissioner
yeah,
Oakley.
sorry. Here?
District 2, Commissioner Moore.
Here.
District 3, Commissioner Starkey. District 5, Commissioner Mariano.
Here.
District 4, Chairman Wells.
Here.
Thank you.
Thank you. Now is the time for public comment. Citizens are given an opportunity to comment on any item coming before the board during this public comment section. The board also takes public comment on items to be placed on future board agenda or other business under their purview. Public comment for public hearing items are taken during those individual public hearings beginning at 1:30 this afternoon. Individuals speaking during public comment will be given 3 minutes to speak. After stating your name and address for the clerk, the timer located on the podium will start a countdown. After 2 minutes, one beep will sound and the light on the timer will change from green to yellow, letting you know that only 1 minute remains. After the time is up, 2 beeps will sound. The light on the timer will change from yellow to red, indicating the 3 minutes are up, and you should close your comments. We have the following folks signed up to speak. If you'd please come forward. Looks like Sharon Thomas. I apologize, I can't read the last name. Nick, maybe?
Jumot, sir.
Okay, I apologize. Richard Riley and Nancy Hazelwood, if you could just line up. Please come forward and give your name and address for the record, please. Good morning.
Good morning. I'd like to thank you for
You can
allowing
start
us
with
to...
your name and address. That
Oh, I'm
would be
sorry.
helpful. Thank you.
Sharon Thomas, Post Office Box 1442, Dade City, Florida, 33526.
Thank you.
And I'd like to thank you guys for giving me this time this morning. I know that not all counties are perfect, but I have a positive statement this morning to start with. In 1990, Ann, Pat, Hap, and Sylvia were sitting in your seats. They granted me and my mother, Mitty Wood, the right to hold a Mother's Day powwow at the Withlacoochee River Park. Since then, my mom passed away in 2012. That was our last Mother's Day powwow. You guys granted and honored her with a bronze plaque that was placed at that park. At the last week of July, and it's been there, Mr. Buckman came out and spoke at the unveiling ceremony, and it had been stolen the last week of July. Someone took a crowbar, pried it off the pole, broke it, and it's not been seen since. Sam Scarborough and Dwayne at the park have done their best to try to find it, but they also contacted Mr. Brian Taylor, and I wanted to let you guys know that through the love and the respect of these guys that the plaque will be replaced. And I just wanted to thank you and thank Parks and Recreations of Pasco County. It means more to us than you will ever know. The powwow went from 1990 to 2012. We still educate people to this day. We do the Indigenous Days program at St. Leo University. 25 years now? Yeah, this November will be 26. I teach school in Pasco County, and I share that knowledge and keep that dream alive. So I just want to thank you guys again, and we feel very honored that you have that respect for my mother and our family. So thank you.
Thank you.
Well, thank you.
Good morning.
Morning, Commissioners.
Please state your name and address for the record.
My name is Nick Jumas. My mailing address is 6550 Main Street, number 1855, Newport Richey, Florida, 34653. Nicole's got a slide for us here. It's a map. First of all, I want to state that we should all be thankful to have opportunities like this to engage in public discourse. Many of our brothers and sisters around the world don't have a voice like us, and for this I think that we can all be proud to be Americans. Today I'm here representing the Keystone Colony community. Could you try and zoom that out a little bit, my dear? Yeah, that's good, thank you. I'm representing the Keystone Colony community. It's a neighborhood mainly consisting of mobile homes on unpaved roads. It lies on the south side of 54 west of the Suncoast Parkway and east of Gun Highway. The issue that Keystone Colony faces is that a private property owner at 1733 Roland Drive, pictured there, is in violation of County Code 82-2, obstructing of roads prohibited. As you can see from the map, the portion highlighted in yellow is a 15-foot public right-of-way that serves as a access to Lake Mineola there. Pasco County actually owns part of Lake Mineola. The red line across the yellow shaded area is a gate that this person has obstructed the right-of-way with. A complaint was filed with code enforcement in conjunction with the county surveyor's office. They went out there and surveyed the property and determined that indeed that southern 15-foot portion of that property is a public right-of-way. At this point in time, code enforcement has not acted to tear the gate down. All of this property, before it became subdivided and became a neighborhood, was a 600-acre cattle lease owned by Mr. Balo. Mr. Balo made it a condition of the subdivision of the neighborhood that there be at least one public lake access, which the community has used for the last 50 years. Unfortunately, recent property owners there, like this one, have decided that they're going to use that 15-foot public right-of-way as their own private driveway. You know, just as the government is restricted from taking private property without compensation, unjustly taking property, a private property owner cannot unjustly enrich himself to the detriment of the community, which is what is happening here. So that the community asks that the board urge code enforcement to act, take the gate down, and erect a sign stating once and for all that this is indeed public property and people can enjoy the lake in perpetuity as Mr. Balo intended the property to be used as. Thank you, Commissioners. I appreciate your time.
Thank you. Good morning, sir.
Good morning. Richard Riley, 20235 Old Trilby Road, Dade City. I have a prepared statement which I have distributed to you, and I have permission to submit it to the record.
Motion received.
Second. All in favor? Aye.
Thank you very much. I've also sent, well, I put this on your counter there. My request is to please remove item C42 from the consent agenda and continue it to allow public comment and discussion until the public may suggest appropriate use of that land. The C42 says request to declare surplus and remove Christian Road property northeast wastewater facility plant from the clerk of circuit court count fixed asset manager file, and no funding required. I understand that the 257 acres of land valued at $1.4 million is owned by Pasco County Utilities Enterprise Fund and is not in the general fund. I assume is not presently paying property taxes. The public and local residents should be able to discuss with commissioners and or the county staff the appropriate process to protect this property. As I have discussed with you in the past, this property is on the previous Seaboard Airline Railway and is on an MPO planning map for future trails in the county. The local Seaboard Lane line came from Trilby to Dade City on the west side of US 301 and incorporates parts of Christian Road in Trilby and the Hardy Trail via 14th Street in Dade City. This can be part of the US 301 corridor trail that will link the Withlacoochee Trail with the Hardy Trail and further into Zephyr Hills. This land also has great potential as an equestrian trail and the park to enhance the concept of the rural protected area in conjunction with Trilby trails and subdivisions and other horse farms in the area. I've spoken to Commissioner Moore about this in the past, and he's smiled. Please consider holding off on any decisions to transfer the land internally until its value and merit can be discussed with Pasco County's Parks and Recreation, Environmental Lands Acquisition and Management Program, ELAMP, and the Metropolitan Planning Organization Bicycle Pedestrian Advisory Committee. Thank you for your timely consideration.
Thank you, Richard. Record reflect Commissioner Starkey is here. Good morning.
Good morning. Nancy Hazelwood, 34110 A Nice Place, Dade City, Florida. I'm here to speak on C42 also. When this was designated for a wastewater treatment plant, there was a town hall meeting. It was packed with the people from out there, standing room only, and they all said, let's not put that there. It's an area of a wonderful fish farm that's one of the second largest on the Atlantic coastline. It is somebody else's teaching horseback riding there. So we've talked a couple of times to many of you about making this into an equestrian park. Maybe Mike Moore on tourism, we did have a brief discussion with you on that. Maybe we can look into that again. But we would request that it is taken off the consent agenda and looked at. Maybe a town hall meeting with the people that are there to see what they want to do with this. The equestrian idea, maybe it's not enough land, but maybe there's abutting land. Northeast rural area has not had anything like this done. We've watched the rest of the county, and everything we have asked for has been put aside. If you could please consider this as something that can be done in the Northeast rural area, we would appreciate it immensely. Thank you all for your consideration and your time.
Thank you. Okay, I do not have anyone signed up to speak. If you'd like to speak, please come forward. Okay, seeing no one, we will close it out. The next order of business is the consent agenda. I have a pull sheet with the following items listed: C32 withdrawn, C8 pull and revise, C42 pull, discuss, and C17 pull and revise. Board members, do you have any other consent items to be pulled at this time?
Seeing none, I move to approve the rest of the consent items.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. C32, Margaret, or that's sorry, it's withdrawn. C8.
Good morning, Commissioners. Andrew Baxter, Facilities Management Director. We ask that the board consider to acknowledge and approve the resolution in addition to the approval of the board action section. So there's a resolution associated with this lease, and it was not mentioned in the board action section. Additionally, there's a Scrivener's error. The file number listed as FAC 180133. It should say FAC 181033. With those two changes, we recommend approval.
Move approval of the noted changes.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Same sign. Motion carries. C42, Commissioner Oakley.
Yes, I pulled this item to discuss. I understand, and we got a report through public comment this morning about this particular property. From what I understand, we have no funds to buy this property from utilities, and utilities would have to be paid back for that property. All the impact monies coming in from construction are going to villages of Pasadena Hills. So there's no plan to make another park in the east side. Pasadena Hills takes care of most of that. But because of it being pulled, I'm just asking if there's a trail designed to go along the edge of that or something, if we could allow that to happen, but actually would probably have to sell the property, because we have no funds for purchasing that property. Anyway.
Commissioner Mariano.
And I concur with the same sentiments as Commissioner Oakley.
Okay. Commissioner Starkey.
Well, do we have to sell all of it? Can we save some of the property along where a trail might be? So does the whole piece have to go in one big sale, or can we partition a little bit of it out?
Look, I think, Commissioner, if the direction the board gave us was to move forward with declaring it excess, but work with the MPO to find and reserve land to set aside for the trail, we can do that as part of the process. We can work with the MPO and the parks with respect to the future trail and where that would go, along the existing right-of-ways that border the property. We can make that work as part of the process. I think that's something we can do.
And I think we're talking trail amenities, maybe a trailhead, restroom, so more than just right-of-way for a trail. But
I think the concern there, ma'am, would then be how do the MPO or the parks buy that piece of the land from the utility department? If all we're doing is dedicating right-of-way for a trail, that's pretty straightforward to do that. If you're talking more acreage than just trail, then now it becomes probably a little more of a challenge for the Parks Department to do that.
Well, Mr. Chairman, I think in the process, setting aside the right-of-way for a trail would be fine, but doing anything else to that property that would hurt the value of that property, because that money coming back into utilities means a lot to the county and the citizens, because we need those funds to come back in so we can place those where they're needed. Is that it?
Well, just as a general concept, Mr. Chair, I just want to remind you of what other counties have been doing. For example, Leon County and the city of Tallahassee with their utilities department partnered and made a fantastic park called Cascade Park. As you approach the Capitol, it's there on your left. They took a wastewater treatment facility and turned it into a huge amenity for the area and raised the values of all the property around it. And I wasn't able to go on that field trip, but I know when FAC was down in Palm Beach County, they did a field trip to see what the utilities department and the parks department did together. And it's what I've mentioned that we should be doing at Magnolia. So just whenever we can, I think we should work with utilities on projects that enhance the communities. That's just a general statement. May not work in this area, but.
Mr. Biles, I guess we would need a motion to direct us in the way we should go on that property. So, like, we want to leave it easement so we can make sure we have a.
Mr. Chairman, if I can interrupt the commissioner, I concur with the county administrator's comments about utilities having to be paid back. But your action in declaring it surplus is not your it doesn't dispose of the property. That's a procedural step that you need to take before you could put it out for a request for proposal or something else. That document could always retain rights that says, the Board of County Commissioners is going to retain a trail along the edge of, as part of that transition. So this isn't your final action, so long as the board's intent of what they want to, that they want to retain a trail is clear. Declaring it surplus at this point, I don't think, doesn't preclude you from doing something later.
Okay, it doesn't prohibit us from doing something later on as
because a purchase of this magnitude is clearly going to come back to the board, and
that would be
you don't want staff negotiating a position that is inconsistent with what the board wants, but right. That could be part of the negotiation that the administrator's office has.
Yeah. Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Moore.
Question. Since this property is owned by utilities, which is an enterprise fund, will we not have to declare it surplus even for another county department to actually purchase it?
Not usually. No, because it would still be a public purpose and it would still be a board asset if it moved over. But you'd have to take care of the internal accounting of moving it over. But we don't normally declare things surplus to ourselves.
But it still doesn't prohibit the county if they wanted to for acquiring portions of that land, even if it's required, even if we declare a surplus today.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. Given that knowledge, I'd like to make a motion that we go ahead with this, considering it as surplus property.
Second. Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
Reluctant aye. Can I qualify my aye?
Okay. Bob, C-17. Good morning, sir.
Morning. Bob Gorey, Pasco County Budget Director. We revised C-17 to clarify the distribution of the cremation fee, and with that change, we recommend for approval. Approval is revised.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thanks, Bob. Don't be so brief next time. Okay, now we will go to the regular agenda. I know we have a time certain at 11. No, it's 11. We haven't changed. We have a,
Says 11:30.
we'll start with R2.
Okay. Mr. Chairman,
11.
I have R2, R3, and R4, and they're just audits. I can go through them very quickly. R2 was an audit done for code enforcement. It's really on the driver and vehicle information database, the Dade system. The state's very strict about how that's used, and we do those audits annually. There were just a few things, and probably mostly because there was a change in agency head. We made suggestions, and they were very compliant with those suggestions and very gracious. R3 is an audit we did of the county's petty cash and change funds. That was the third unannounced audit, so that's the final for fiscal year 2018. We found just a couple things. A check was not processed, and then a shortage was not reported. But considering the quantity and the variation geographically, I think they did a great job, and we appreciate their help with that. The third one, I know is going to be shocking. That was an audit done of the county attorney's office, and there were no findings. They did a great job. So thank you very much. That's our 2, 3, and 4. Thank you.
So we passed.
Yes.
So A minus or? Okay.
County attorney got an A.
Okay, you hear that, Jeff?
Do we have to approve that or not?
No, sir.
Yeah, you do need to accept them if you could.
Okay,
I
so-
move we accept.
Sure.
Second.
Okay, and do we need to say R2, R3, R4?
R2, R3, and R4.
Okay, that's the motion. We have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
No, we'll get to that. We'll get to that, though. It doesn't matter. Keith, are you okay if we see R10 now? I just know there's some folks here. We can just get that out of the way if there's any questions from the board. Commissioner, are you okay with us seeing R10? Sure. R10, if we do bump ahead to R10, the Sun West lease.
Good morning, Keith Wiley, Parks, Recreation, Natural Resources Director. As directed by the board, we were asked to go back and talk to all parties involved, make sure that we can come to terms. We've done that. What you have in front of you today is the amended lease agreement. I'm going to cover some high points. Again, the goal was to reduce the scope of the current operator. The county was to assume operations starting October 1st. The goal here is to allow the wakeboard business and aquatic other amenities to develop. The county's going to continue to improve the facilities on site, and afterwards we're going to go out for an RFP for commercial. This is an exhibit, tenant leased area. Not much really has changed here. The big change is that the little rectangle that was 10,000 square feet within the commercial area is now 5,000 square feet. Again, all parties agree. We ask that the board approve the amended agreement in front of you today.
Okay, and I appreciate you. I know this is the third time this has come to us. I hated to see us push it off again, but I appreciate meeting with the parties and making sure that everybody's in agreement. That means a lot. And does anybody have any questions for Keith?
Mr. Chairman? And Keith, I think you and Jane did a much better job this time coming around with it. I do have one question for you. When I look at item number 2, it says Sunwest will also have the exclusive right to provide wakeboard and other aquatic amenities provided in the amended and restated. And just to clarify with me, on 4, it says, as a tenant, Sunwest will have the non-exclusive use of the water expansion option for the 3-year period. Is there a conflict there, or is that okay?
I think that's clear. If Ms. Fagan has any questions. Commissioner, are you reading the summary that we handed out or the actual agenda item? Sorry.
I'm looking at the front,
The memo.
First, the memo page.
memo.
Okay. Since I wasn't prepared to talk about this, I don't have the memo in front of me. Sorry.
All right, so one says exclusive, one says non-exclusive. I'm just wondering if there's
One's
conflict.
with, I think one's with respect to the wakeboarding that he's doing out there, and the other one's with respect to non-exclusive over the whole water.
Right, so.
Okay, so,
I
the-
think
so,
Yeah,
so,
it's-
all right, so he's got the exclusive over what he's got out there right now
Correct,
built in, okay.
correct, yes.
Okay, any other questions for Keith?
On the contract? So just so you know, I had a conversation with Keith on the way over here, and I just had one question on the architecture requirements. If the tenant is the first one to go with after years of no action, and we do maintain the control of the quality of the architecture, which I feel is very important, that we make sure we have a certain look and a certain quality of construction. So that was my one issue.
Mr. Chairman, just to touch on that, I was going to kind of let that go because I know the second, when we go out for the RFI or the RFP for the full structure, if on that commercial's note, if Patrick hasn't done anything on his fixture, I want to make sure that the new person coming in, if you want to go up 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 stories, and keep Patrick down below for 1 or 2 stories, that we kind of keep that option, keep that in the back of your mind. We don't need to do anything on it now, but just keep that in mind. That'll keep the architectural control the way we want it to be, and the structure how we want it to be.
But I don't think that's in the contract.
We don't have to
I think
do
he's
that.
got
We don't have to do
5,000
that
square
now.
foot, he can go up
Yeah,
with the
you can go up
5,000.
2 stories, but I'm saying.
That's correct, yeah.
Right now, we don't need to address it now, but it's just something to keep in the back of your mind if it does come in.
Fair enough?
Okay, any other questions?
Move approval?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Keith.
Thank you.
R5. Dr. Bellis. I've missed you. I haven't seen you in a couple weeks.
He had to button his coat back.
I know he did. Yeah, he's Mr. GQ.
For the record, I missed you too. Mark Bellis, Performance Management. And today I'd like to share with you the results of the 2018 citizen surveys. As you know, the citizen surveys are really our primary listening mechanism for our customers. We do have some others that we deployed this year that are really panning out. Our customer service department has literally thousands of opportunities to collect data as people call in, walk in the building, email, and so forth, and we're actually going to start texting pretty quick on that. We are able to analyze that data proactively and look for trends and identify things that we need to take care of before they become problems. So we're starting to shift again, even from that standpoint, from a reactive to a proactive stance. The citizen survey, the National Citizen Survey, is operated and deployed by a third party. They average anywhere from 300 to 500 communities each year that participate. This year it was around 500. We have participated in this survey in 2009 and a total of 7 years from 2012 to 2018, including 2009. So we have quite a bit of data to support trends that we're identifying. This year we had a response rate of 21%, which is actually quite good. You'll see that we also, in addition to the National Citizen Survey, we have an online survey. I'll talk about that in just a second. The distribution of the surveys follows population. This is a statistically valid instrument with a plus or minus 6% variance. So we can feel very confident that the data we're getting from the National Citizen Survey is representative of our population. And you can see the distribution here of the surveys follows the general population. The online citizen survey we use more for comparisons, have really the same questions, and we've conducted this one since 2009. There is a correlation between that and the National Citizen Survey. One thing you'll see that is a little bit different is with all opt-in instruments, you generally get folks who have something that they may not be happy about, and that's why they participate. So generally the ratings from the online survey are a little bit lower than the national survey. The National Citizen Survey, we actually have an opportunity to get in front of people who think we're doing a pretty darn good job. So that's a good thing. When the National Citizen Survey first came out, they looked at livable communities based on 8 facets. And safety, mobility, national environment, the built environment, the economy, recreation, wellness, education, enrichment, and community engagement are the 8 facets that make up a livable community. So the questions that come out of the survey really look at where are the main focuses and concerns, or even the pluses, the strengths from our citizens of Pasco County. And as we have for many years, safety is number 1, the economy in this year was number 2, and mobility being number 3. So we'll break those down a little bit here as we move forward. As we compare the statistics in 18 to 17 last year, we see that the positive responses overall, again, this is based on a body of information and questions that come in, the majority of responses for the natural environment, the built environment, the economy, and recreation and wellness went higher, actually more positive responses than in 2017, which means some things are going really well there. And the rest of the dimensions were pretty much the same as 17. We didn't see any significant drops, which is also a positive thing there. Again, that's the cumulative data at kind of the 10,000-foot view. One of the primary factors we look at was the quality overall of life in Pasco County. And we are still hovering just below the national benchmark. We are doing a good job, but there are some things you'll see here as we drill down that we still need to pay attention to. You can see that there have been a few years where we have been above the benchmark. We have been hovering below the benchmark since 2014. One of the most important dimensions for us here as an organization is the overall quality of the services that we provide in Pasco County. Those are just above the benchmark. We feel pretty good about that. We'd like to see 70%. We think we're trending and headed that way. I will show you that the comparison, if you look in the bottom right of that particular chart, you'll see that the federal government only received a 36% satisfaction rating as compared to our 62. So in comparison, we're doing a pretty good job. We also ask outside of law enforcement, fire and rescue, emergency medical services, what do you, the citizens, believe are the most important services that we provide here in Pasco County? And as in past years, road maintenance and code enforcement rise to the top. The others are catching up pretty quickly, so we see a trend here where the quality of life services are becoming more important to our citizens, which is good as we continue to move forward with those. And then, of course, the follow-up question is, if these are the most important services, how is that quality perceived by the citizens of the services that we provide? I will tell you that although road maintenance and code enforcement look low, they had a big bump last year and are higher than they've been in many, many years. So although, again, a comparison to the quality of life services, they don't look great, but actually have gotten much better, and the citizens are seeing that. You'll see that here in a couple of minutes, too. So as we look at this, there's a ton of data, and I could have shared a lot of different things with you, but what is the data really telling us? What are the things that we need to pay attention to? What are the things that are important here? And we'll look at the 3 areas, the 3 facets where the community was most concerned or most involved. When we look at public safety, and we ask the question on what are those things that impact the overall quality of life the most, we see that the top 2 are safe neighborhoods and safe and uncongested roadways. By and large, those being the 2 areas in public safety that are most important to that. If you look at the ratings down below here for all of the services that fall into that category, very similar to 2017, not a lot of movement up or down either way. The economy is doing pretty good. You'll see that every single facet of the economy has been trending upward, which is very, very good. I do want to point one thing out here too. When you look at that cost of living, the third one from the left, that has been trending positively. Consider that includes taxation. So folks that live here realize they got a pretty good deal, and that's important for us to know as we move forward and talk around the things that we intend to fund. Interesting too, the employment opportunities in Pasco County as a place to work, you see those coming up, and significant jumps in this last year, which is very positive for us. It's always been a struggle here in Pasco. Mobility, there's some ups and some downs. The pleasant surprises, the bus travel, bicycle travel, ease of walking, and then the availability of paths and walking trails trending up nicely with some good bumps. So well done. That's a very good positive thing. The issues that folks showed through the data here, primarily around ease of car travel, traffic enforcement, and then of course just traffic flow on the major streets. Those appear to be trending down, so we do have some work to do around that. When we look at the whole body of information around the impact on the overall quality of life, when we compare ourselves to other counties, and in this case there were 472 that we were compared against jurisdictions across the country in this, we had for our overall quality of life a 61% positive rating, which ranked us 410 out of 472. So 61% is decent, but we still, from a comparison standpoint, have a ways to go on that. But you can see that if you were to compare this to Maslow's hierarchy of needs, the top four actually fall right in line with that, where the most important essential things are safe neighborhoods, good drainage, little flooding, safe and uncongested roadways, and healthy community. These are things that you're going to see you have focused us on in the strategic plan, and that in our business plan moving forward too, there's specific actions and activities that address these as well. So overall, if you look at the surveys themselves, really most of what we see in 2018 is very similar to 2017. 2/3 of the county, or the majority of the county, believe that Pasco is an excellent or good place to live. They rated very good or overall excellent ratings for our quality of services, and that they are applauding our customer service efforts and seeing some great improvements in that, which is what you, the board, directed us to do specifically. So there's some strengths to applaud here and to feel good about. The value of quality and quality of services for the taxes paid, that continues to trend up. So feel good about that the decisions being made from that governance standpoint, which is you, the board, are being perceived very positively. We are improving customer service across all of our functions. Again, it's in our strategic plan, which means we're focused on it. We're making a difference there. Overall, economic health is good. People feel good about that. They're seeing what's happening in the county here. And, of course, Bill's going to be talking about that here pretty soon, bring us up to date, which is excellent. We're seeing great improvements in the trails and the walking and the bike paths, and also in bus travel, so very positive movement on that. The communication with the citizens is improving. We are continuing to build our relationship with the media. We are pushing more out on social media. We still have to get much, much, much better at pushing out the positive things that we do, because there's so many great things going on. We have great people doing great work every day. We need to continue to tell that story, and that's the plan. We have a few opportunities to focus on. We have struggled for some time with the image and reputation of Pasco and the overall appearance. Still, those numbers are very, very low, and that's an overarching issue. I will tell you that as you segment the data, you can see that the majority of positive responses across the survey instruments came from the center of the county, followed by the east, and the lowest ratings generally came from the west side of the county. So probably not a surprise. We know where we have work to do, but that is really the data backs up the direction that we're going. Two of the issues that popped up, and with the data, there's also comments, approximately 1,200 comments on the surveys. I read every one and look for that qualitative piece to support the data, the quantitative piece. And the two major issues that came up and bubbled to the surface, concerns about the rapid housing growth and the concern that this was outpacing our infrastructure, specifically around roads, schools. Those comments came up quite a bit. And then around traffic, there were a lot of concerns about the congestion, about the timing of lights, and that there were folks on the roads with unsafe speeds. I did share this information with the sheriff's office, and they reported back that they have directed targeted patrols to address these type of things, which is good news, because that means it's being addressed, and that because of this, we can make something happen. Also, there were some specific issues, and again, this followed the comments specific to the west side, and a lot of people identified neighborhoods, they identified regions, areas where these were a problem, that there were significant drug-associated criminal activity, rundown properties, vacant properties, and homelessness issues. These were very specific comments. In the 7 years that I have seen this survey, probably more comments on that than I have seen in any of the prior years. So again, in sharing this with the sheriff's office, they said that they are aware of this and moving forward with some good initiatives. So as we back up to that 10,000-foot view, the comments also support that folks want to be more involved with what's happening in local government. So the way we're communicating, the way we're listening to them is making a big difference. They also, of course, their concerns: mobility, growth, development, redevelopment, crime. They feel good about the services we provide as a county, so in spite of flat budgets and skeleton crews, our folks are doing a really, really good job, and the citizens are noticing that and making comments to that effect. And really the issues that are solely under the control of the BCC and the services we provide, we are addressing in your strategic plan and in the business plans as well to follow that up. But then we realize that most of these issues, particularly when you're talking about the overall appearance and reputation of Pasco County, we can't do that alone. We know that. It takes a collective effort. All the other agencies, the private, the public, citizens, everyone has to get involved in that. So our challenge is really to continue to engage others in being part of the solution to make Pasco County premier. The good news is, again, that you have directed us in the strategic plan to make these things happen. You're going to have a business plan and budget in front of you that you'll be able to further activities, further our growth in this area with the specific activities, and to really make things happen. Any questions that I can answer for you?
Hey, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Moore.
Thank you. Just a couple things that I noticed. I think one of the things I take out of this, we talk about traffic and infrastructure. One of the good things is that we have a team between staff and the commissioners now, that what you're seeing is that those things are being improved. Now, we know that it takes a year or two to build roads.
Right.
But if you look at all the great things happening, you see the construction on 52, you see the 54 to Zephyr Hills, you see the 56 extension, you see the Virgin Diamond coming. Improvements, on 54 to the Sun Coast, both on 54 and 52. I'm not talking about the Ridge Road extension now, but the Ridge Road improvements have been done there. And many roads, those things are all coming to fruition now. So we obviously, I can expect to see those, that portions of the survey get better. Let me ask you this, and I think I've brought it up in the past. Their survey right now, people they're going on their own. They're going to the website and doing this and downloading the survey. Whether they see a link on our Facebook page or Twitter or whatever too. Mm-hmm. Is there a better way to target and reach a non-skewed portion of the population? The reason I say that is because quite often people take surveys that are frustrated about a certain issue. Am I not correct?
You are correct.
And I did happen to notice a sector of folks that were pushing it out there a little bit because they had some issues. And I know specifically who that group is and who they are. Towards the end, I noticed some things that they're focused on.
Right.
So there's certain people that are activists in certain ways and active in certain parts of the community.
Yes.
And that's why you're seeing things. I think that you said you're seeing some things that were mentioned on the west side more than ever. Mm-hmm. I have a sneaky suspicion why you're seeing those comments.
Sure.
So how can we maybe do a better job of getting those surveys to, directly to people in the community? Good resource, obviously, your chambers, your rotaries and such.
Right.
Good one.
You with me?
Yes. So a couple things.
I know it's difficult to do.
Sure.
But we know it's
sure
that, again, listen, you're going to take a survey more so if you're upset or indifferent about something.
Right.
Versus if, hey, I'm excited, I better go take the survey to give kudos to somebody.
Right. One of the reasons that we started doing the national citizen survey through a third party is that is actually a random sampling. Mm-hmm. So I actually have a high level, actually scientifically there is a 95% confidence interval for that survey, which means that if we were to poll all of the citizens of the county, that we could be confident within 5 or 6% that the responses would be pretty
I guess
simple.
I'm referring more to some of the comments that you saw.
Sure.
Are you with me?
And there's the tough piece, because we can have the data and we can get good random responses. I will tell you that the comments in the National Citizen Survey were fairly similar to those. There was a good correlation between those and the opt-in this year. Mm-hmm. Not nearly as many about the crime issues and those types of things. But certainly the congestion and the concern about infrastructure.
Well, those are
pretty
always going to
safe.
be there.
Yeah. But I will tell you that as we continue to increase our ability to listen to our customers, we are going to do more outreach to the groups that you mentioned and make sure that we have the most. If you think about what we did for the strategic plan, we engaged stakeholders across the county. We met with chambers, we met with different organizations. We brought in as many folks in this county as we possibly could. That made it a very, very good instrument because we had the collective voice of the citizens of Pasco County and the business community. We want to do the same thing on a regular basis as our ability to listen to see what's going on and what we need to do about it. So as we move forward, we'll get more accurate with that. And I believe that we'll be able to more finely tune the questions we ask, because we're still fairly general and we have to make some inferences from this. So, yeah, absolutely agree.
Thank you. Commissioner Starkey.
Something we might consider doing is kind of something that Mayor Buckborn does. He does the State of the City speech every year. And maybe we can generate a State of the County message, and that we can take some responsibility in getting that out. We can all sign up to be speakers at different rotaries or whatever, and send out that message for the citizen survey at that time. So maybe we try and give an annual report out to our constituents in a concerted effort during a certain time. Focused message.
We could all, Mr. Chairman, and that's a good idea. And it's funny you said it, because I thought about that past too. A little different when you have 5 commissioners.
Right.
Obviously the mayor represents the city as a council. We are a commission of 5 that has authority over 95% of the county, unlike a lot of counties have very large cities. So how do we go about that? Whether we all take certain portions of it, one commissioner focuses on, working with staff on, I'm just throwing it out there, infrastructure, economic development, on and on. Sure. We could do it somehow like that, because we have to sunshine prohibits some things, but when we're talking about something we're not going to vote on, it makes it a lot easier, obviously. But I think it's a good idea.
Or we could just have a presentation on everything, and we could all give the same report.
That's
out,
true too. Yeah.
Out, and hand out information on the survey. And the one thing about the citizen survey of the opt-in is that if you are a person with a burning issue and you're trying to say, this is really important to our little constituency, send this to all your friends, and with this message they can, weigh that. But that's why I think the National Citizens Survey, where they call randomly.
It's,
right?
Yeah,
that's a good data
They base
set.
that on zip code. They base it, and the formula is really quite good. They base it on population density. They base it on housing, whether it's multifamily or single. So you get not only good cross section geographically, but also demographically.
Yeah, then it's really important to have both.
Yeah, absolutely.
Commissioner Morano.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. In watching this evolve over the years, I don't think I've ever seen the numbers as high on the national surveys so strong to be 59, 24, and 17 going respectively from west to east around the county. Right. Is that about the highest percentage you've seen?
About that, yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
so your points, Commissioner Moore, might be right on the money.
Yeah.
I will say that when I look at the impact on overall quality of life, where it says 95% of the people are focused on good drainage and little flooding, I would like you to drill down and take a look at what those people are saying. Because I think people, from the Holiday Hills to Ironbark, up and down with, Magnolia Valley probably has a lot more comfort now as well. We've done a lot of great things, and I would love to see what's going on with that data.
Right.
I know that used to be part of a big reason why people were much less satisfied on the west side compared to the east side. It was only part of it. Right. But I was really looking to see those numbers out clearly. I know you touched on them, saying that the west side is not as happy as the east side, central. So I would like you to delve into that. If you have the data now,
Absolutely.
great. If you don't, that's all right.
Yes.
One of the things that's in here that you talk about as far as opportunities for improvement, and I've talked about this a little bit before, but I'm going to bring it out again because I've had several people talk to me about it over time, is the overall image and reputation of Pasco County. We're going to do a resolution today with the firefighters that went out there, took care of a gentleman who was having a heart attack, went back, and when the guy was so stressed about his lawn, went back there and redid the guy's lawn. That story got a lot of good press, a lot of good stuff, and that's the type of thing I want to see us go out there. And I know Chase is here, but from the Sheriff's Department, but I see Live PD as completely the opposite effect of what we're trying to do. I mean, I support the Sheriff's Department, the great people, the first responders we have out there doing a great job, but I just think the image that we're getting that is just being focused night to night when that goes out there is just not helping the county. So if we're going to really talk about the image and do something about it, maybe that's a conversation we need to have coming forward. It seems to me it's a big issue, and that may be what actually funnels, when people see this around the country, they tell me about the homeless people, where when people see that they're homeless, there's people out there to prey on it. But when you get national attention about, you can live off US 19 in the woods and come down there and be homeless and still get all the services you want, well, it's going to create more traffic. I mean, that's why you see, like the city of San Francisco, they have that big shelter down there, that big nav center they're going to put out there. They're shutting that down now because it wasn't working. So I don't want to be an attraction for that. And if this is what's actually making that happen, maybe we need to take a real close look at that. Thank you.
I'm going to echo what Commissioner Mariano is saying. In fact, I've been at some of my HOA meetings. My last one was over, I think in Key Vista or somewhere around there, where one of the residents is a vice president of Citibank, and she drives all the way to Tampa, but she wants to live on the water out here. And she's had friends who were going to move here but changed their mind. Because they didn't like the perception of what they were seeing. So I do think we have to be really careful of the image that we've worked so hard to create. And as we're working on bringing businesses here, international and domestic, we need to be very mindful of the image we're putting out there in the world. So, and those images stay. Once they're there, they stay forever.
And Mr. Chairman, if I could add, even at one of the, I think, FAC meetings or NACO meetings coming up, recently talked to a couple of commissioners that talked about the live PD. Says, man, you guys have it tough down there. So that image that's out there we're talking about, one commissioner actually had live PD in their county, and after, as soon as they get out of that contract, they got out of that contract and they moved on. And they were happy to shelve that to somebody else, and they're kind of laughing at us that we were doing it.
And I don't disagree, but I do see both sides. There's some positives to it, too. I don't know. I know we're limited on time, but Chase, I don't want to put you on the spot, but if you want to maybe just address it briefly, and then maybe we can sit down one-on-one with Chase and the sheriff, if you want, Commissioner Mariano, that's up to you. But, I mean, you bring up some good points, because I've asked those kind of questions too. But I see a lot of good things from our deputies with empathy, with dealing with the homeless, or, so I see a lot of positives too. But I don't disagree, so.
Sure. Chase Daniels, Pasco Sheriff's Office, Assistant Executive Director, 8700 Citizens Drive in Newport Richey. Excuse me. So thank you for bringing this up. So what I can share with you is, I guess what I'll say, kind of the sheriff's perspective on this show. I can tell you again, I think our argument would be that crime happens whether the cameras are there or not. For instance, I go to Friday night with the shooting in Lake Como, just north of Hillsborough County. That made national news. It was a road rage incident, and an individual or two individuals were shot in a car. Live PD wasn't on that call. They weren't present there, but yet that crime still made national news, and people are still talking about it. What isn't seen, however, is that empathy, like Commissioner Wells mentioned, the empathy of the officers who, instead of writing someone a ticket, give them a warning, counsel them, the empathy we show for someone who may be in a terrible situation, or we're trying to get help for the homeless population, for instance. Those are the kind of things that black and white news story, like about the road rage incident, those news stories still exist, but what I think the sheriff views that gets lost in that is the empathy of the officers. Again, if it's a black and white news story about crime, that's going to be seen everywhere. Anytime you Google Pasco County, you're going to now see a road rage incident and a double shooting on Friday night in Lake Como. But what you don't see is the deputies who comforted the individual who got shot, the firefighters and the paramedics who assisted in getting that person transported. Those are the kind of things that get lost in that black and white that I think the sheriff feels Live PD highlights, and it's kind of in that same vein the reason that we are so proactive in releasing body cameras. Every one of our deputies has body camera, and that is all publicly releasable. And it's about transparency. It's about being able to show, if someone comes in and has a bad interaction with our deputies, we are able to narrow that down, figure out who it was, figure out exactly what was said, and take appropriate reaction. It is no longer a he said, she said. And we view Live PD as kind of that continuation of that transparency.
So I think there's no doubt that this commission is probably the most supportive of the sheriff in commission history. But we are starting to hear from our constituents and our business community a little bit of rumblings, and I feel it's appropriate that we share it with you. Mm-hmm. We have had some calls from businesses in the county that are concerned when they're in the background of a film of a drug deal going down, whatever. They worry it makes it look like their business is not a safe place to go. And I understand your side of it. You could say, well, wait a minute, you can see the police is there taking care of, the sheriff's office is there taking care of problems. But I hope you guys can see the other side of it too, and the concern that the business community is starting to get, that is this really good, is this a really good image for the county economically and going forward? You know, that's just something we have to look at.
And again, I think if you wanted to meet with one-on-one individually to discuss it with Chase and the sheriff's office, I know that person that posted something on Facebook said, contact your commissioners. We have nothing to do with that. The sheriff's totally separate.
I didn't see that.
It's their decision, you know. But obviously, yes, we do support law enforcement. And go ahead, Commissioner.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And you know, I have talked to the sheriff, I talked to Chase about this a bit ago as well.
Okay.
And you're mirroring the sheriff's statements right on the money, so I appreciate the candor with it. You know, when we look at the law enforcement satisfaction, good or excellent, 72%. And again, I think this commission has been so supportive, every single one of us here, making sure the deputies got the raises, making sure conditions are good. I think funding the budget, I mean, tremendously well. So I think the people of Pasco County appreciate the first responders. I mean, the Sheriff's Department is doing a great job. I think everyone understands they're in a very tough position. I will say, bringing it back up again, I was going to have the discussion. I got another meeting coming up with the sheriff at the end of the month. But when I look at the actual questions of this survey and to citizens that have talked to me, and I'm talking about high-level citizens that aren't going to come out and going to go, you know, come before the board, that I want to endanger their positions, you might say, or their reputations, because it can be a controversial issue. There was a stream that was put up there, a questionnaire was done about it, and the guy who was in business got crushed on it. But I've talked to other times where I just saw a stream from one of the activists, you might say, who were doing a stream in attacking the Sheriff's Department. So I understand both. I know it's very complex, but again, if we're going to work as a team together, and I think we've got great relationships, that we really need to go is take a close look at this on both sides of the perspective, and what's the best decision for the county to do in total is where we should be going.
Absolutely, and if I could, something I know I've talked to Administrator Biles about this. I've talked to Adam and the tourism folks. Something that I think we would encourage as well is that partnership. So Live PD is the most watched show on cable on Friday and Saturday nights. Our social media audience during the show is approximately 1.5 million to 2 million unique people who actually engage with the Sheriff's Office, various social media platforms during that show. We would be happy to partner with tourism, to partner with your PIO office on working in some of those positive messages during the show. I mean, so we are with the show until the end of August under the contract. I don't know what's going to happen in the future. We haven't had those discussions. Live PD hasn't offered us a renewal, so I don't know what's going to happen for that. But I think that is something that we'd be happy to partner with your PIOs on, with the tourism folks on, because there is that large audience that is aware of Pasco County, and we would be happy to share those positive messages as well as the negatives during that show to those 2 million unique people that we are hitting every Friday and Saturday night as well.
Mr. Chairman? And you know, I appreciate all that. I want to say that I was at a tourist development workshop they had down in at the southern part of the county at one of the hotels, and actually somebody with all the people in the tourism workshop actually brought up Live PD. One person brought it up, someone else brought it up. There was a representative there as well, and it was asked that tourism was actually going to look at it. And I'm sad to say that I actually sent Adam a question about it to see if it would get looked at, and no one seemed like brought the subject up at all. So it kind of the ball got dropped there. So if you want to work with them, that would be great.
Yeah, we would be happy to. On anything like that. Something that we try to promote during the show is the positive and the negative. Our social media team's been instructed, to push out our jobs and our career link. They've been instructed to push out positive pictures during the show, which they do, and they also interact with people about what's on the show. But we'd be happy to kind of further and deepen that partnership as well, at least for the rest of this contract run. And again, who knows what the future may hold, but at least until August when this contract run ends.
Okay, thank you, Chase.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Chairman, so on another note, Mark, to sum it up and stuff, the numbers look better.
Yep, and if I could say, Mark, the strategic plan that this board did is very detailed, very drilled down, very specific. It addresses these things. So as a board, I think all of us and the team did a fantastic job with a tangible accountable strategic plan, so thank you for helping us with that.
Absolutely.
And just hopefully there's a plan to hold whatever department's accountable where you see the comments, and you know what I mean. I'm
Yeah.
not going to mention names, but
Right.
to where you have a plan to where we can address some of the concerns they have in the certain departments.
I'll just say that information's worth nothing unless you do something with it. So it's
Exactly.
all actionable, and we move forward that way. So, yes, indeed.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank you very
Certainly.
much.
Good line.
Good luck.
Appreciate it. Okay. With that, we'll move to R1. Bill, good morning, sir.
Good morning. I'm Bill Cronin with the Pasco EDC, and it's my pleasure this morning to present to you our quarterly reports for the activities that we do as part of our MOU with the county, as well as the Penny for Pasco activities. And I'll start with those referring to our general activities through our MOU. On the slide before you actually is some news that happened since we saw, actually this was the last time we did see you, was the announcement for Touchpoint Medical, who chose Pasco County this last quarter. 228 jobs, $25 million. It was definitely a big win for us. And as we're talking about things like perceptions and security and things that are important to companies like this that are moved to our county, I'll mention that the things that Dr. Bayless mentioned are top priority for these companies that are looking to move in. With regards to security and crime statistics, I'll also share with you that it's kind of a slippery slope when we start to measure crime statistics, because when somebody looks at the number of arrests, does that mean that you have high crime or that you've got a really good law enforcement community that's actually taking care of that crime? So these questions actually cause further questions. And because of that, our sheriff has actually volunteered to meet with these companies when they come in if they have concerns. So that's something that I think demonstrates a real pro-business environment that we have here in Pasco County. When we look at the pipeline, still robust. We've had 4 big wins this year, 23 projects. These are ones that are getting ready to pop, that we're engaged in negotiating and competing with other communities around the United States. And if you look, pretty diverse pipeline in terms of types of projects coming here. So again, we don't want to get too many eggs in one basket. As far as our goals for this year, we still got a ways to go. We're at 238 jobs as far as the competitive projects go. Over the next month or two, I know the press is here, but I've got projects that probably could be over 600 jobs when we add them together if they all pop at the same time. So I'm praying that they come before the end of the fiscal year. And we're still working with our local businesses, making referrals to our workforce training programs, including AmSkills. A lot of events this last quarter in terms of getting our programs out there for our local businesses, but as well to tell the rest of the world what Pasco has to offer. We attended 6 business conferences and missions. If you look at the photo on the screen, that's actually the NAIOP show, which is a commercial industrial real estate show. And you might recall that as part of the Penny for Pasco, which we'll talk about shortly, we went out and evaluated a number of sites. And this is one of those ways that we go out and promote those sites to try to recruit businesses to locate here and create lots of jobs. Local groups, presentations to talk about the programs and Pasco County. The top one there I think is important to note, Pasco EDC, EFI, Lunch and Learn. EFI is Enterprise Florida. That is all the project management team, the people at the state that actually bring us projects, and it's important that they know what we have here to deliver. You see also Colliers in their commercial real estate firm, and CSX. We've got lots of track space here in CSX, including a 1,000-acre site that we worked on this last year that CSX serves. So it's important for them to know what we have so that they can bring us some projects as well, too. Social media, we've been talking about a lot, even though that big blue piece of the pie is Twitter, and a lot of that are tweets and retweets, and a lot of that actually is from some of y'all. I've noticed that our commissioners have gotten really good about helping to multiply those efforts and spread the word of what we're doing out there. So thank you for that. Facebook actually has the most interactions where we're actually talking back and forth with people and businesses about the programs that we offer. And we've already hit our numbers in terms of increasing our newsletter referrals. We're out 34%. Our goal was 10% this year, so you can guess that that bar is going to get raised next year. And media coverage. You see the large spike there in terms of mentions. That's June, May, and April, if you can't see the legend at the bottom. The mentions in the middle, to me, is one of the most important items that we have in terms of press coverage, because that means somebody else is talking about us. It's not us talking about ourselves, and we continue to see increases about other people. And it's positive stuff, by the way. It's not the negative stuff that they're saying. In terms of our investors, we're at 79 for Pasco EDC, and that's the private sector investment that's part of our 501c3. 7 new investors so far this year: CBRE, Lennar, Macer Consulting, Panasonic City Now, that's the group that manages the smart city for Connected City, Sun America, Vimro, and Wallbridge. So what's next? You probably know that according to our bylaws, we have to establish at least 2 task forces each year, and those task forces actually deal with some type of a challenge or an issue regarding business friendliness in Pasco County. Historically, we've worked on things like horizontal permitting. You remember last year, we worked on Smart Start and entrepreneurship programs. This year, we're winding down those 2 task forces that we had this year, and that was the Ready Sites Task Force, and that's the group that went out and identified land that could be evaluated for industrial sites. And the conclusion of that task force will include a process by which we bring in new pieces of property. So, for example, you mentioned a piece of property earlier today that you're trying to determine how you convey that and what you do with it, the purpose. We'll be doing the same thing with industrial pieces of property as someone brings those to us. And this process will be established as the final product of that task force. The other one is pretty interesting, and it has to do with talent. It was called the Talent Pipeline Partnership, or the task force, and it has to do with coordinating all the various workforce development agencies, education, K through 12, that are all in that space of trying to help people find jobs. So although we're not the official workforce development agency for the county, we depend on it. If we don't have, we can have a building, we can have land, but if we don't have the people that are trained, we can't recruit anybody here. So you're going to hear about the conclusion of this task force, which will actually create a new program that will shepherd those agencies and people that are looking for jobs, as well as employers that are looking to fill positions. October 1, we'll be kicking off 2 new task forces. The first one will be determining whether or not we did an industrial development authority here. That authority will help us to convey, transfer, purchase land, assemble land for projects, but it also could be used for things like redevelopment when you talk about that 19 corridor and maybe even issuing industrial revenue bonds. The other is a food hub entrepreneurship program. Again, food's not really our gig, but the entrepreneurship part is, and we're seeing more and more activity between urban farming, local restaurants, and then the whole hub and spoke aspect of how do we get good, nutritious food into our schools, prisons, and things like that. So that's a leadership role that we're willing to take to facilitate that task force. And then, of course, we'll teach the entrepreneurs how to do business as part of our Smart Start programs. We are at the end of our second year of our 3.5-year WIN strategy, our strategic plan. And some of the metrics that we determined early on, we learned that we're hitting our goals, but maybe not our metrics. So we're going to be revisiting those. For example, our certified sites program, the Ready Sites program. Turns out we've created over 12,000 acres of evaluated sites to use for industrial properties, but not all of them are certified. So our goal was to preserve land to have available for industrial property. So we hit our goal, we just didn't hit the right metrics. So we're going to go through, revise some of those metrics, and we're going to be bringing those back to you here shortly as we ask to amend the current CFA that we're working under for the penny for Pasco. Our Policy Council is reviewing our legislative priorities for this next session. We're working closely with Ralph Lair from your office, as well as our elected officials in our delegation. The difficult thing about the job this year is that thanks to our delegation last year, we got almost everything we asked for. So we're having to start off with a new wish list, but we do have some great opportunity in both the House and Senate in terms of our leadership here. We're doing a lunch and learn, actually 3 days of lunch and learns with Dan Biles and his staff so that they understand all of the different things we do. So many departments just know us for one thing or another, but this is one way that they can all get to know us and be a little bit more cross-functional in their communications with us. We're going to continue to support the application for grant funding for Overpass Road, the Overpass Park, I'm sorry, which is the industrial park or the site that has been selected from utilities, but this has to do with the widening of the road to get it there. The site really doesn't do us much good unless that road is ready for business. And then lastly, Zephyrhills Airport runway extension. As you know, they've received some funding this year, and they're actually hiring a consultant to do a strategy on that. We're going to work with them on that, as well as promoting that as a place to do business for aviation and possibly even MROs. So I'll stop there on the MOU before I go to the penny for Pasco. Is there any questions on the first part of the presentation?
Any questions?
Okay. Penny for Pasco, also this is our third quarter report, and the legend remains the same. Green, it's complete; yellow, it's in progress; P for pending, and red for incomplete. But because there's a lot of different stuff in here, we've got some summary slides on each of the big items. I'll try to be I'm going to be briefer than Mark, but I'm not going to be as brief as Bob. Let me put it that way. So, ready sites, as I mentioned before, almost 1,270 acres that we've evaluated in the Ready Sites program. That's amazing. We started with a blank slate. We've identified 67 properties in the county that could be used for business growth, whether industrial or commercial. We took that a step further, identified 6 fairly large sites that we brought in consultants to evaluate. We know everything about those sites now, so somebody comes knocking on the door, or better yet, we go get them, we can tell them about that site. We've done enhanced marketing about those sites. You've probably seen some of the flyers already on 3 of the large sites, and it's my pleasure to announce that the Hayes Road site, which is on that northwest portion of the county, about 200 acres, has been invited to the certification phase. That's the highest level of qualification for those industrial sites. On international, we had a company that went with us to Mexico City as part of the trade mission, and Commissioner Starkey was there as well too. We had 3 elected officials, 1 from each county, that went on that particular trade mission. Got great reviews in the press, but also our companies did well, and that's the main reason why we go on these trips, is to help them make sales. We also sent a small crew to Canada to recruit for foreign direct investment. Again, the investment, the recruiting side is a little bit more stealth. Most of these companies don't want people to know they're thinking about moving, so this is true salesmanship when we go out on an FDI mission. And we also continue to support the World Forum for FDI, which Pasco County is the sponsor of the lanyards. So last year in Shanghai, we had thousands of people running around with Pasco County lanyards. This year, the same in Liverpool. And they actually know about Pasco County. It's funny, some people might not know about Tampa in these audiences, and they know about Pasco County. So I'm actually a little proud of that. And we continue to attend Select USA, which is the United States Foreign and Commercial Service event in Washington, D.C., where they bring in people and companies that are looking to invest in the United States. We continue on each one of these to do some enhanced marketing over and above what you ask us to do as part of our MOU. And we've also completed 3 market reports. And we're filming for some videos right now to be able to roll that out, whether it's social media or any of you who are out speaking can take that and use it in your presentations. And then lastly, with Smart Start, we're starting some new marketing efforts, both digital and print. One of the things about Smart Start, since we're helping those non-primary companies, a lot of those companies aren't working with us in other areas, and we determined since the touch point is different for them that we had to use some different ways to market to get their attention. So that's something new you're going to see from us. We're also created an advisory committee for the West Pasco Entrepreneur Center. Commissioner Wells is a member of that, I'm proud to say. And the Dade City incubator, which is just across the street, is at an all-time high for memberships off-site of 8, which means that now in this day and age where people use coffee shops and things like that for internet, not everybody's renting a desk, but they still want the services. So the programs are still very important to them to come in and learn from us, but they don't necessarily want to be chained to a desk. So we're learning as we continue to move forward. So I'll go through these real quick if you want me to stop. The good thing is you see a lot of greens, and you have this in your packet, of course, and no reds. So I think that's probably the most important thing, is that we're hitting our goals, and we're learning, and we're getting smarter with the funds that you afford to us. Those are the 3 sites that we've started marketing out of the 6 thus far. And with that, I'll stop for questions. All right. Well, thank you again, everyone, and happy Tuesday.
Thank you. I appreciate it, Bill. And if I could, real quick, I know since we rolled out the local preference, which the board voted on last month, I know we weren't expecting this, but I know we already had a company come to meet with Bill. We don't mention the name, but to look at coming into Pasco County and bringing jobs here because they want to be able to qualify and do business here in Pasco.
Yeah, we've actually got a company that said because of that action that they're looking to open a facility here in Pasco County to be able to do business with y'all. So it works.
So thank you to you and your entire team.
All right, thank you all.
Like I said, Bill, you're doing a phenomenal job every step of the way, every facet, so keep up the great work. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Commissioner Starkey.
And I talked with Bill at length yesterday, and I do want to thank the county administrator and Mr. Rosenthal for helping one of the companies in my district that's having some issues that Bill helped bring here. I know PEDC and our county staff are working very well to help this company, get itself right and be able to do great business here. And so I just heard that you guys went and did a great job, so I want to thank you.
And on behalf of our whole staff, we'd want to thank Dan and Don and his department too, because when you all do that, we know that you have our back when we're out there bringing a new company in, that you're going to actually take care of them, dealing with challenges. Companies don't move every day, so it's really important that we've got the resources to help them when they do, because it's stuff that they don't deal with on a regular basis. So thank all of you and your staff too.
Thank you, Bill.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Bill. Okay, R6.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm Charlie Ryburn. I'm the Environmental Program Manager for Public Infrastructure, and these are some folks that I'm privileged to work with: Alicia Hacker, Bill Rodriguez, and David George, all with Public Infrastructure. And this is Lottie Kelly, and she's with Covanta, the company that runs our waste-to-energy plant. So I want to thank you for inviting us today and for recognizing all these fine people that I'm privileged to work with. Back in May, we were honored to receive 2 awards from the Florida chapter of the North American Hazardous Materials Management Association. And the competition for those awards is pretty robust. We are competing with programs that have lots of resources like Palm Beach, Pinellas, Hillsborough, and Sarasota. So it speaks volumes to what they've been able to accomplish and towards the goal of, making it a premier county. So our first award was for Hazardous Waste Program, or Household Hazardous Waste Program of the Year. And our Household Hazardous Waste Collection Program is very popular service with citizens. And it's important to remember when the economy improves, the amount of waste we receive increases. So we run 2 permanent sites, one at Hayes Road and one at East Pasco, and several mobile collection sites. And we collect all types of materials, paint, chemicals, batteries, and we also recycle electronics. We recycle over 1 million pounds every year, and it's mostly old televisions. And the second award was for Innovative Partnerships, and this is a partnership that they are nurturing public, private, and nonprofit. That would include infrastructure, Covanta, and Keep Pasco Beautiful. And Kristen King was not able to join us today. But, you know, those partnerships involve a lot of compromise, a lot of working together, and so I applaud them for working on waste cleanup projects, outreach projects like Earth Day and Upcycle. So again, thank you for this recognition, and stay tuned. There's a lot of good things coming from these young folks. Thank you very much.
Well, we appreciate it. Thank you
Thank
all
you
very
very
much.
much.
You make us look good, so we appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you very much. R7.
Good morning, Chairman and Board. Kevin Guthrie, Assistant County Administrator of Public Safety. Back in between September and November, and I'm going to go ahead and ask the members that are representative from the Region 4-6 Incident Management Team for the state of Florida to come forward for me, if you don't mind. But back in September, actually September 17th of this year, of 2017, during Hurricane Irma, 45 out of 67 counties were impacted by Hurricane Irma. Obviously, Pasco County was one of those. But one of the things that makes Florida so resilient and a leader in how we handle disasters is that we help each other out. And that's county to county, city to city, state to state. You know, whether you know it or not, individuals from the state of Florida have been as far away as Hawaii to respond to disasters. They get assigned a midnight shift and things like that, so they're not actually out working on the beach or anything like that. So, but one of the things that I have the privilege of doing as a part of my job is I have the privilege of leading the Region 4-6 All Hazards Incident Management Team. When I took it over December 2016, we had 12 rostered members. Today we have 77 rostered members. That Region 4-6 team runs all the way from Citrus County all the way down to Naples and Collier County, and as far inland as Polk, Sumter counties. So on September the 17th, we got a request to fill some positions right after we finished cleaning up the majority of Hurricane Irma, and sent a request out for a team of 12 to go to Tallahassee, and then subsequent missions to deploy to Puerto Rico, to the Orlando Airport, to the Joint Field Office in Orlando, and so on and so forth. We probably put out, as a team, somewhere in the neighborhood of about 25 members over a 4-month period. One of those team members was actually out 92 days supporting the Operation Virgin Island Puerto Rico mission from Governor Scott. So that incident management team responds to disasters all over the state. And I want to first of all thank Dan and this board, specifically at the time it was Commissioner, or then former Chairman Mike Moore, for allowing us to go out and be involved in these disasters, because what makes us so good at what we do here locally is because we have your support and Dan's support to go out and do it regionally and across the nation. One of the things that I often say, and I have no shame in saying this, I much rather our team make mistakes on somebody else's disaster and learn from those mistakes on somebody else's disaster and do it the right way here. And I think one of the things that we saw in Hurricane Irma for ourselves was how much better we did East Side emergency management and emergency operations by opening up the East Side Operations Center. The way that we tackled an unprecedented 30-some-odd thousand people in our shelters, how our constitutionalists came together, and so on and so forth. These are things that we learn when we go out to other locations and bring those best practices back. So again, I just want to say that. So as my last quasi-official act as the acting chief of staff for the Executive Office of the Governor, Florida Division of Emergency Management from September to December that Commissioner Moore and Dan approved. I'm happy to read a letter from Governor Rick Scott to this team, or a portion of this team that stands behind me. They're actually Pasco County members, so if you'll just indulge me. It says, "Dear team," again from Governor Rick Scott, "thank you for helping Florida families, visitors, and businesses after Hurricane Irma impacted our state last year. Nearly every county in our state was affected, and as a part of our All Hazards Incident Management team, you helped to make sure every family and industry had the ability to recover quickly. Your hard work during our preparation for, response to, recovery from this devastating storm saved lives and helped our families and businesses get back to normal. As our state continues to recover, we are also doing everything we can to help Floridians get back on their feet. I am thankful to President Trump that he has been 100% supportive of our efforts and offered every resource of the federal government to us. Working with local emergency management professionals and FEMA, we will make sure that no expense is spared to help families respond and recover. Florida is strong and resilient, and we will continue to work together to make sure everyone has the support they need to rebuild. When disaster strikes, we all have a role to play in helping our neighbors recover and get back on their feet. As governor, I thank you for the role you have in helping Floridians and rebuilding our beautiful communities. Sincerely, Rick Scott, and this was signed on his plane returning from Puerto Rico on May 29th of 2018. So again, as I said, my last official act in that role, and as the team leader, I'm happy to present Andy Fossa, Tim Reardon, Lee Cowan, Jim Johnston, and Sean White, these letters from Governor Rick Scott. So again, I think you should be very proud of that, as I am, and I'll take any comments, and that concludes our presentation.
No, I think it's great. Awesome. Yeah. Congrats, and Sean made the list. That's exciting, man. We go way back. I'm giving him a hard time. So. High school? Great, yeah, high school, yes. Yeah.
Good job. I try to get away from him. I seem to see him out of town like a cheer competition and things like that.
Again, thank you.
Thank you all. Appreciate it very much. Thank you.
Great job.
Mr. Chairman, should we get a picture?
Sure.
Dash to the restroom.
While we're waiting for the chairman, I just want to thank Kevin Guthrie. I just mentioned to him, I want to thank him for all the phone calls I have been getting for all these flooding events that we usually get. Kevin, you're doing a phenomenal job protecting our people. I greatly appreciate you and your team. Thank you.
Yeah, I will say my Thousand Oaks folks are pretty happy right now. So far so good. Not gonna win.
Commissioner, you want to go ahead? Vice Chair, do you want to go ahead and go to R8?
R8?
Oh, all right.
Yep.
I think Paige will be quick.
Okay, all right.
Hey, good morning, Paige Bramlett, Community Development Director. Mr. Chair, members of the board. Today I present for you our 5-year consolidated plan and 1-year action plan, which is required by HUD. It's for program years 2018 to 2022, and it identifies the eligible priorities that the county is going to address with the HUD funding we receive. That is the Community Development Block Grant, Emergency Solutions Grant, and home programs. The county priorities are related to affordable housing, homelessness, non-homeless special needs population, and non-housing community development. In order to execute our programs, we form an annual action plan. That annual action plan details how we're going to spend the funds we receive on an annual basis from HUD. You guys approve those programs for CDBG and ESG on July 10th under CD 18-231 and 232. Our home funds that we receive are utilized for our affordable housing programs under the Pasco Fix, rehabilitation program, Pasco Opportunity, new home construction program, as well as the various rental unit projects we pursue throughout the county. It is staff's recommendation that you guys approve our 5-year action plan, a consolidated plan, as well as our 1-year action plan per the direction in the agenda memo. There are no questions.
Any questions?
Mr. Chairman?
Commissioner Morrell.
Paige, you know, when I look at the report, and on page 21, on the Alice report from the United Way, it actually takes the household income, housing expenses, and it uses the average sale price. And the number they're using is $180,500. Now, when we've been talking about what the median price is, which is a price that's really in the middle of the total gap, so the high price units don't raise that number up, which is addressed on the next page. It says the median price is $122,000. If we're going to really compare what's reality, and we're going to try to go to what the percentages are, why would we use that $180,000 number? And I know it's the way it's written, but when the more realistic number is 122, are we trying to like skew the numbers to go a certain way to get the data we want to go, or why is it done that way when it's unrealistic?
No, so that's census data that's provided for the area, and we utilize that data. That's not data we formulate in-house. So basically, our program, that number we try to stick to from an affordability perspective, is around the $150,000 range, no more than that. That seems to be the price point that aligns with our low-income population when you include the subsidy that we're able to provide on the purchase side of the deal. So that's where we stick. And again, for the formulation of the plan, we use data that's provided through census, through various sources, which are referenced in the consolidated action plan.
Okay, but none of those people that are in the low-income areas are looking for the $150,000, $180,000. They're going to be looking for cheaper properties, and there are plenty of those available. So I just don't know why it's structured that way to show that how unaffordable it is when it's really they're in better situations.
Yes, sir, and that doesn't dictate how we pursue our program. Again, those numbers are numbers that are provided through different resources. We provide a multitude of homes from that, $150,000, $160,000 range down to the $100,000 range as we're able to find them across the county to provide a good mix of affordable housing for all income eligible persons.
All right, so let me just dig into it a little bit more. This Alice report is done by the United Way. Is this done nationwide this way? Is it something that is subjective? They pick how they want to structure these numbers?
I'll have to get back with you on the answer on how they formulate that report and exactly what demographics they use. I don't know that at this time.
Okay. On another note, when they talk about the numbers that are in here, I mean, the numbers really, it changes quite a bit when you look at what the median price would be. It talks also in the report about trailer homes are not a good thing for affordable. They break down early. To revamp them's tough, and it's in the wrong area, almost impossible. It seems to me that this board has made a tremendous move working with the West Pasco Habitat for Humanity, which actually I'll talk about a project that's coming up later on, but it looks like that is the type of approach we really need to go look at as far as trailer homes, getting them down and trying to get smaller single-family homes that could work to become affordable, because even from the numbers you're showing in this data, a regular home with the rent numbers, and I don't know how accurate they really are, that we're looking at here, if someone gets in a Habitat home, they could get as a payment as low as $400 to $600 a month.
Yes,
and that would fit all these people here into that type of program. So I think the board has made a great step going forward, and this is another key project, but there could be other opportunities down the road to do the same thing.
Absolutely. And we'll definitely look for those opportunities as we see them.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair.
Commissioner Stark.
Do we distinguish between mobile homes and manufactured homes? Because there is a difference.
There is a difference, yes, ma'am. So from a zoning standpoint within the county, I don't know the answer to that. Typically what and I'll give you a specific example related to the RMH zoning. Typically you can put a mobile home, manufactured home, or single-family home in that RMH, but it depends on the zoning of the specific area.
Well, as we're looking at tiny homes or whatever we want, and accessory dwelling units, however we're going to wrap up that discussion. And I see you're grabbing the mic, but I do want to make sure we're distinguishing between a manufactured home and a mobile home.
Traditionally, a manufactured home is just one that has been manufactured more recently. They and the HUD standards have changed over the years, but mobiles and manufacturers are traditionally, from a zoning perspective, treated the same. The different classification is modular, yes, which must be treated as a residential stick-built home.
Modular. Okay.
And yes, ma'am. So modular.
Right.
That's
so
what I
just
took
want
you
to
to mean.
make sure we have that distinction. And then the second question I wanted to ask was, and I haven't read this in detail like Commissioner Mariano has, but in the past we've been using, I think it's CDBG money. I get the little pots mixed up, but for condemnation. And so where are we with that?
So we awarded $250,000 towards some out of CDBG for the next program year.
And do we know where we are on how many homes we have on that list, and how many are not funded?
I don't have those numbers immediately available. I'll reach out to Lisa Hadar and we'll get those.
Yeah, I'd like this board to get those numbers, and some of the members may not realize we diverted some funds a couple years ago to help with the backlog of homes that have been condemned, because we didn't have a source of funds to use. So that's one of the eligible expenditures that they can have. So, but I last time I asked, I heard we had quite a lot of homes on that list that were unfunded. So I'd be interested to know. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. I'll get back to you with that info.
I had one more item, Mr. Chairman, so I apologize. Page 46, it talked about describe the need for specific types of housing. And I'm going to read the paragraph if I could. While the home ownership rate has declined and the new rental stock has increased, the rental stock is not of good quality. Many of these new rentals are single-family homes that have not been kept well by their investors. The investment needs to be made in multifamily rental properties, which are much better suited for the rental market. Now, I'll talk about this later on, but I want to just bring that statement up because I want to talk in my committee reports on about like Airbnb.
Yeah, I got to
talk to some of those people that have people come in, rent the house for a year, it gets trashed, they tear out all the furnitures. Airbnbs, when they have someone come in, they've actually vetted them out, they're rated, and they go forward. It might be a much better rental stock type of thing, opportunity for us. I don't want to get in the middle of, let's say, certain communities that don't want to have them, but those that don't have civic associations and aren't really in that way, it may be a good way to look at as far as bringing it up. But I just want to bring that up. It doesn't have anything to do with you. But
So I know we've talked to, I think staff is looking into like a rental registry ordinance and trying to gauge, but it's still in the works, but I don't disagree. I don't disagree.
Mr. Chairman?
Commissioner Moore.
Sorry, I know we're trying to move through things, but speak briefly on the federal, well, I don't know if you want to call it grants, but I guess I assume they are a type of grant that private businesses can use to build the multifamily, I guess they say affordable housing apartment complexes.
There's one on 19.
Well, so, you know my feeling on apartments. We had a recent discussion with Mr. Biles about a day or so ago on this too. In certain areas about becoming oversaturated with them. But again, like I said before, there's the right place, the right location for them. And I know my understanding, we'll probably be seeing a few applications come through for certain areas. So to your point of some of the areas that have
like the Leisure Lane, we have the, we're going to start doing, yes, great things happening, they're going to rehab that area and bring in new houses and some tiny houses, whatever's going on there. But there are areas where that makes sense, right? So if you have areas where there's an overabundance of, of rundown trailers in the neighborhood, that's a great location for those affordable housing, multifamily complexes, right?
Yes, sir.
Because they will fill up, and they'll meet the standards, they'll meet the federal standards, right? So, and I think they have certain standards. Obviously, I know they have certain standards when they have how they have to upkeep those, to keep their dollars and their grant dollars, right? And
Absolutely.
They can't let them run down and things like that. So there are certain places those are good. Those are good for, and it makes sense because they need to be in the location where the people live. It's got to be convenient for them, close to where their jobs are. Too,
Absolutely.
right. So those are good ideas when it comes to getting some of those neighborhoods, rehabbing some of those neighborhoods. So things like that. I just want to, I don't want people to misconstrue that I'm like so against multifamily. It's when we're becoming oversaturated, where the market's not going to be able to handle those in the future, because we know what will happen, and they will become run down. They won't be full. But in the instances where we can bring in those affordable housing projects in a multi-family aspect, or it could work, and it could help those areas.
Absolutely.
Right.
Okay. Need approval, need a motion?
Some of it.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed, same sign. Thank you, Paige, appreciate it very much.
Thank you.
I'm going to jump out of order here real quick, so I've got two things that first thing I want to have the board get an update on the fallen officer memorial for out front here. It's been a while since we've got an update of kind of where they're at and stuff, and then I've got one more thing before lunch, and Sean, I apologize. We'll try to get you in the library because I know it's important too, so. Good morning, Craig.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman. Thank you much for your time. My name is Craig Laporte. I'm with a director with the Pasco County Fallen Law Enforcement Officer Memorial and Benefit Foundation, 8385 Cessna Drive, Newport Richey. Thank you for giving me an opportunity to update you. As you recall, this commission in the past had authorized us to move forward with the development and construction eventually of a permanent memorial for Pasco's fallen law enforcement officers. Well, I'm pleased to tell you that we're actually underway. We've been working on this now for almost 5 years, and through the partnering with multiple other not-for-profit organizations, businesses, and individuals, we have raised sufficient funds to actually begin the development and construction. So I have a short video to show you. Nicole, if you could bring that up, and then I'll show you some concept ideas. As you can see, this concept video shows the location of the monument where this board authorized it on the northwest corner of Meridian and 7th Avenue. May not stream very well.
Our Wi-Fi is high-tech, yeah.
Well, while that's thinking,
Good time to talk about broadband?
Yeah, we still have
all right, we have some boards over here that you can take a look at that are to your right as well. The hard boards.
We have a printout.
You guys gave.
And I also gave you a printout that is the same as these particular boards. The one that I've got showing right now was designed to show you that we are constructing this consistent with your direction, that the monument will be done in a fashion consistent with the historic Pasco County Courthouse here in Dade City. It incorporates brick. It also incorporates a number of other things. We have actually now contracted for the construction of the statue. It'll be a bronze statue of a fallen law enforcement officer in the arms of an angel being lifted. And again, the other board that we're showing you now shows you a close-up of the statue. It'll be in more detail than what you see.
There you go.
We got a good one.
Okay, here we go.
So that's not water, that's a blue brick going around there?
It's actually, ma'am, it's going to be like a thin blue line. There'll be black granite on either side, and the blue is going to be glassine type blocks that'll be illuminated from underneath at night. So the statue itself will be illuminated on the top of the pedestal, and then the thin blue line will be illuminated beneath. At night, it'll be surrounded by brick sitting wall, and the names of the fallen officers will be engraved on the platform itself. Here's a conceptual picture of it lit at night that's also in your package.
Well, it looks great.
If you could give us the one with the first one there. And I really want to thank King Engineering because they've really come through. They've actually donated all of their time to design this and to provide us with these diagrams and the video. But as you can see on the top right of the poster, the outside black will be engraved with the lines from A Thin Blue Line, the poem. And then there will be the glass blocks, and the pedestal will be brick with a granite center, a black granite center with the names of the officers engraved. So our goal is to have this in place by Law Week in May of 2019. And we will be working with the county staff and the building department to get the appropriate permits. We're still trying to locate a general contractor that's going to help us, but we've been very, very fortunate. Members of our board have been able to get a lot of volunteerism with this as well, and we feel very confident that we will be able to have this, a dedication for this next year when Law Week comes up. Are there any other questions that I can answer?
No, I think it's fantastic. It's a long time coming. Thank you for you and the board for working hard to get the funds needed to make this happen. Commissioner Oakley?
I can't tell from the pictures how large it is. What?
Okay, I can tell you that the
I think we want to make sure that it doesn't overpower the whole property to that side, rather. Because we have World War II memorial on the other side.
The pedestal itself is going to be about 6.5 feet tall, the pedestal, and then the statue is life size on top. So you're talking about, with the angel, about 8 feet. So it's the total height is going to probably be about 14 feet.
Okay.
But again, we have a conceptual, it's probably better on the video if you can see it from up there. You can see whether it is that is the design size in relation to the fountain in the front of the courthouse.
Is it comparable to the size of the World War II?
Looks like it.
Memorial?
It's very similar. I can't tell you the exact, I don't know the dimensions of the World War II.
Yeah.
But that was one of the things that we instructed King Engineering to design this. It would have to be consistent with the World War II. It would not overpower the fountain in the front, and it would all be, it would all bring in the complete appearance of what we are wanting here at the courthouse.
Well, I'd like if you could, before you start construction, show us maybe what that footprint looks like, and
sure, I'm sure we can arrange that.
Each of the commissioners. So
yes, sir.
Yeah,
I'm sure we can arrange that.
okay.
Any other questions? Thank you for your time, and we look forward to seeing this finalized at some point in the very near future. Thank you.
So do we. Thank you. Thank you, Greg. Okay. And I'm trying to get one more thing. Hopefully we can get it done, but this is very important. So if you remember, as a board, I don't remember the exact date, but we all approved moving forward to sue the opioid companies, which made us the second county in the state to do so, which is a fantastic thing. We definitely did the right thing to do that. But since that time, and you all know how it's personally that's affected me, and we've all been affected in one way or another by folks we know, family, whatever. So that was a no-brainer doing that. But since then, in February, I started getting with Chief Casson, who's not here, Kevin, to start talking about, because quite frankly, I'm just being candid, we're kind of hypocrites, because the only thing we carry on our ambulances is opioids. You know, there is no alternative. And if we're going to address this, obviously, take it head on and help our citizens, we need to look into doing non-opioid on our ambulances. So we started out in February. I asked the team here to get some numbers together on kind of what they thought we could do, what counties do this in the state or in the country, and I know they've reached out to a couple, but we don't necessarily need approval today, but when we get done, I just want to make sure the board's on the same page that this is important. You know, if we move forward with this, it will be the first county in the region to do so, and I have no doubt that the other counties will follow. This is the right thing to do. Again, I know if I had an option on an ambulance to get morphine or liquid Tylenol, I would take the Tylenol. That's just me personally. I think you all would agree. So, Chief Reardon, if you could just kind of bring it through kind of where you're at and where we're at today, if you don't mind, please.
Sure. Tim Reardon, Rescue Chief, Fire Rescue. So we explored all the different alternatives that existed in Florida. There aren't very many departments throughout the whole state doing it, and especially in the nation. There's only very few places that are offering opioid alternatives to patients. So while the opioids still need to exist on the units for those severely injured patients, we didn't really have an alternative for someone that just had like back pain. We either let them suffer, or we had to introduce a medication that was probably a little too strong for them. So we usually opted on letting them suffer. And a customer service thing, that probably isn't the best idea. So Chairman Wells, working with us, and he introduced me to a chief in Massachusetts who spearheaded a campaign which actually changed all of Massachusetts' EMS protocols. So now they are actually required to carry the non-opioid alternatives across a spectrum. So some people can't take Tylenol, some people can't take Motrin, and so they've offered, in different cases, use different things. So we're working right now to implement the plan for IV Tylenol. There's a brand name for it, but basically acetaminophen, IV acetaminophen, along with oral dosing of the same. And then also bringing awareness to that opioid problem. We are going to roll out a program which we stole from Massachusetts. They're doing it. But when I started doing the research...
Copy.
Yes, exactly. Copied. Emulated.
There you go.
It's called the Purple Flag program, in which anytime that fire rescue, when they ran a overdose call, they would put a little purple flag in front of their station just to represent, hey, look, this is what's happening in the community, to draw awareness to it. But we looked at it, and that's a lot of stations, a lot of flags. So we're going to work with our PIO in order to get a electronic representation of that on our webpage with a flag and a number that ticks off on how many of the overdoses that we run. Now, we had to give out Narcan too. The other thing we're doing is we're working with Narcotics Anonymous, where when we run a call that we've given Narcan to, we supply that patient. They can do with it as they please, but we supply them with a contact number for Narcotics Anonymous, along with the meeting scheduling for that region. So I'm trying to work with there's three different chapters of it in Pasco County. So it's the first in the area of putting it all together, all three aspects of it, with the information and the alternatives. So I'm kind of excited about it. I've been 30 years, and I've struggled with that same thing of, do I give that medication or do I not, just for that back pain? So now I have an anti-inflammatory that I can give instead of an opioid.
I mean, it's the right thing to do, and they need to have options. I mean, obviously, opioids are addictive, none aren't, and that's, again, we owe it to our residents. We know we have an epidemic here, and quite frankly, as a board, we've addressed it, and we've handled it head on. We have a workshop later this month to discuss things with the sheriff's office and with others that are, the science behind it. So we, as a board, are addressing it, but, to me, it really hit home, because I'm like, okay, we're suing them, but that's all we offer. So I hope that you all agree. The funding, they don't need funding. They're going to handle the funding end of it. They don't need to come back to us for any more money. And we don't really need an approval. We don't necessarily need an approval, but I just want to make sure, first, if you have any questions for the chief, and then just give them the okay to move forward with it. And they've got a timeline of, you're trying to get this. We want to have it training, and then September 10th will be the start date.
In September 10th, because there's a lot of paramedics out there, so we want to make sure they're all trained on it. So by the time we get everyone trained, it'll be about September, early September, mid-September, but we wanted to put a date of 10th on there for you.
Mr. Chairman, you're right on track, so congratulations.
Yeah.
Thanks for bringing this. Thanks for you guys. I'm familiar with it. I know it works. You're seeing it more and more throughout the nation and hospitals and other situations too. So it's great to see that you guys are moving forward with this. It makes 100% sense. And, you know, potentially, you know, like you said, your objective is, you know, do what you can to make that patient as comfortable as possible. But at the same time, last thing you want to do is get them hooked on opioids.
Yes.
This is a great alternative, especially when it comes to, you know, those lower pain situations where there's a lower pain threshold and they don't need oxy or more morphine or whatever it may be. It makes a, then you run it through the IV, so it's not like taking as you know, it's not like just taking a Tylenol orally.
It will get there quicker.
It reacts very quickly. So.
And so, and like one of the mantras is, we had a choice of opioid, ice, or positioning, and that was it.
Yeah.
Right. So now we have.
I know your team doesn't know about it, well, they might right now, but I got a feeling your whole team's going to be excited about
Yes.
this. It's, you know, it's going to help relieve some folks that, again, like you talked about. Commissioner Mariano?
Mr. Chairman, this is absolutely brilliant.
Yeah.
How considerate of you for the citizens and dedicated for the team to go look into it. I think it's absolutely brilliant. I think it's going to be a great service to the citizens. Let me just ask you a question.
Yes.
Massachusetts made marijuana legal.
Yes.
Did they look at that as far as like part of delivery as well?
No.
Didn't,
No.
okay.
So it was about bringing an anti-inflammatory into the mix, but they have not, or at least any conversations I had.
In the ambulance?
No. It's a medicine, so I mean, I'm just wondering if they had actually looked at that as well, but.
Yeah, no. It was just strictly what they could do in the field to give that alternative.
No, but absolutely brilliant. Fantastic.
Well, there you go. You got your approval. Thank you all. Appreciate it. And appreciate everything you all do. I know we're going to be commending you all and your team this afternoon, so we'll see you then, I'm sure.
Thank you, sir.
So thank you both. Appreciate it, guys. Can we have 5 minutes to get?
Yeah, but we do have a 1 o'clock.
Okay.
I have a 12 in my office.
Okay, that's fine. So are we okay, libraries this afternoon, obvious, and then Don, do you want us to do the AR1 real quick, or can we do it this afternoon?
Terry will be here all afternoon because
Okay.
all the planning public.
Okay, with that, we'll recess to 1:30. Thank you.
1 o'clock, we have a photo, don't we?
We do?
So I was just talking, I have a thing on my calendar about a photo.